This week, join me on a quest to learn the truth about a 3,000-year-old Temple of Doom, complete with sacred idols and secret rituals.
The ruins of the ancient civilization of Chavin have stood for 2,500 years. But we're the first to make a full-length documentary here. How did this empire endure without the use of weapons and warfare? Was it a utopian society, or was it a warped experiment in mind control? My search for answers will take me through secret tunnels, deep within the Amazon jungle, and into the hallucinogenic rituals of a modern-day shaman. And one other thing, there really is a Temple of Doom. We're digging for the truth, and we're going to extremes to do it.
It's kind of eerie.
I've come to South America to investigate a mysterious relic that's thousands of years old. Some think it holds the key to understanding a mysterious underground temple and its bizarre, mind-warping cult. They were a crucial part of one of the most unusual civilizations in history.
Hi, I'm Josh Bernstein, and I'm on a quest to explore what might be a real-life Temple of Doom. My journey begins here in Lima, Peru. I've come here to see an ancient, sacred idol, perhaps the most important artifact in a country rich with archaeological treasures. It's called the Teo Obelisk.
The centerpiece of the National Museum of Archaeology, the obelisk is a huge granite sculpture with images woven together like a tapestry. Professor Guillermo Koch, a leading expert on Peru's archaeological past, explains the crucial role the relic played in the ancient civilization of Chavin.
It contains the main elements that were the basis of the Chavin ideology, the Chavin religion.
Is this obelisk considered a god? Is this the reason that it's sacred, that people of Chavin would actually pray to?
It may have well been. Some people believe that this was a sort of god and that they came and pray and make offerings to them. It's a very important piece in the Chavin culture.
The first great Peruvian archaeologist, Julio C. Teo, discovered the artifact in the ruins of a massive temple complex 250 miles north of Lima. He called the civilization Chavin after the nearby town Chavin de Huantar. Reigning from 1000 to 200 BC, Chavin is one of the oldest and most mysterious cultures in Peru. The obelisk sat in the exact center of the circular plaza, at the heart of the complex, a position of supreme religious significance. Teo thought it contained the key to solving the mysteries of Chavin and what went on there. The principal image on the obelisk is a caiman, a South American relative of the alligator. Engraved within the caiman are many snakes, and a feline figure that's thought to be a jaguar. And plants, manioc, peanuts, and chili peppers.
I do believe that because the complexity of the elements is a stone with a message. It's like a Bible, like an ancient Bible for these people.
So we know it's important, but we don't know what it says.
There is a code that we have to break in order to understand what it really means.
The strangest part of this code, according to Guillermo, is that the images on the obelisk don't come from the high Andes where it was found, but rather from the Amazon jungle. But the jungle is far from Chavin. In the days of Chavin's glory, it was a punishing 6-day trek by foot and llama train through towering mountains, falling steeply to dense, impenetrable jungle. Why would a people who live 12,000 feet above the Amazon make jungle animals and plants the main characters in their Bible? Guillermo tells me if there's an answer within the obelisk's code, I'll have to go to the jungle to find it. My starting point is Iquitos, a market town on the Amazon, 500 miles from Chavin de Huantar. Iquitos is bustling. Goods from all over the world arrive by boat. I've arranged to meet up with local legend Richard Fowler. He's a naturalist and jungle adventurer.
A lot of the artwork at Chavin looks like jungle animals, jungle plants. So I've come here because I want to explore the jungle and hopefully see some of these. I want to know if that's possible.
When are you ready to leave?
I'm ready to leave right now.
Okay, well, I'm a naturalist, and that's what I do. Plants, animals, Amazon.
Let's go.
Let's go.
As we travel up the Amazon, I think back to what Guillermo told me. Many archaeologists, including Julio Citeo, interpreted the obelisk as an origin myth. The Cayman gave birth to Chavin's universe: the animals, the people, and the plants. But why did they pick these particular plants and animals to put on the obelisk? Near the river, we visit a garden cultivated by the Bora, an indigenous people of the region. The plants they're growing here appear prominently on the obelisk: yucca, or manioc as it is sometimes called, and chili peppers.
Will any of these plants grow in the highlands, or are they strictly in the Amazon basin?
These are all tropical plants that grow well in poor soil. They're coming, yeah.
So if they don't do well in highland soil, what are they doing as central images on the Teo obelisk?
Is this the right color to eat?
Yeah, that'll be just right.
Okay. Spicy. That's really hot.
I can see now how chilies are impressive to the people of the Amazon. That's a powerful flavor. And yucca is their staple food source. These plants were of vital importance here.
It's a starchy product from the Amazon.
Yet they don't grow in the highlands around Chavin. Why are they on the obelisk? It's very strange.
Sweet. Thank you.
The mystery deepens. Julio Citeo and generations of archaeologists after him thought there was a simple explanation. The civilization of Chavin came from people who migrated up from the Amazon. They brought with them the cultural memory of the things that were important to them in the jungle. Like the cayman, the central image on the obelisk. Richard is taking me to meet one.
There's supposed to be about an 8-footer in here, and that's the one I'd like to try to catch for you.
Okay.
There's a lot of small ones, so I'm sure we won't be a problem catching the small one, but we're going to try to catch that big one for you.
This is how Richard has caught big cayman in the past. And he says there are some huge ones in this murky water. But so far, the ones I see are like something you'd buy at a pet store.
There was one over there a minute ago.
Looks like a muddy exercise in futility to me.
This takes sensitivity.
I don't see anything. Feel anything? Nice.
So far, all Richard has found are some leaves, mud, and a lot of aggravation.
Minesweeping.
They're elusive creatures, always one step ahead of us. And then he gets one.
Getting the big one,
But he seems a little small, not much of a father figure.
I got you a brown cayman, one of 3 species found here in Peru.
Can I hold him?
Yeah. Hold him, please.
What do I
Grab
do?
him by the head, grab him firmly behind the head,
Okay.
and firmly at the base of the tail. Don't get your face close to his mouth.
This cayman's sort of cute, although not the friendliest personality.
Yeah, don't get your face.
It's hard for me to imagine this little guy as the main figure in any culture's Bible. But Richard assures me that his brothers and sisters can be a lot larger and more dangerous.
In the Amazon and in almost all tropical areas where crocodiles are found, they're a powerful animal symbol. Like danger, they mean aggressiveness, they mean strength, and people are afraid of them.
Why would they be afraid of him, though? Were they killing and eating people?
They've seen them grab other animals, and they're afraid it's going to get bigger and eat them up.
And this is a small one.
Oh, this is a baby.
Baby.
He was only about 2.5 years old.
So one that was 9 feet, and some of them you said get 18 feet.
Well, the black cayman gets
Black
up to
cayman.
18 foot. They have a very powerful force on them, and of course, some of the animals that you're looking for are these power symbols, power plants, power symbols, power animals.
Okay, so I would imagine that an 18-foot black caiman would be a scary sight.
Richard takes me deeper into the jungle in search of other power animals. It grows thicker and more impenetrable.
Hey Josh, check this out.
Then, Richard surprises me. This is definitely a power animal, a symbol worthy of immense respect.
Anaconda, articulated pipe.
The anaconda is the biggest snake in the world, up to 28 feet long and 3 feet around. This one's a 15-footer and very heavy.
They bite, heavy.
Aggressive?
They're defensive.
Defensively.
Defensive, yeah. You get one in close quarters, they bite, they just strike at you.
And then in terms of, again, local fear, would this have been hunting people? Is there a reason why they'd fear the anaconda?
Yeah, they'd fear it because it gets bigger, and there are actual accounts of them eating people, like small children and small women.
So again, going back to the time of Chavin, any jungle dweller would have feared an anaconda.
Sure. It's one of the greatest symbolic animals here. The whole legend of the Amazon is like the Amazon is one big anaconda and all the little tributaries are baby anacondas.
Now I see what Richard means by power animals. A really big snake makes a powerful symbol, strong enough to stand in for the life-giving Amazon, the biggest river in the world. The snake must have held some equally powerful meaning for the people of Chavin to have such a place of honor on the obelisk. Julio C. Teo thought the jungle images proved that people moved up from the Amazon and created Chavin. But Richard tells me of another competing theory, that it wasn't the people who moved, but the ideas. The jungle symbols were so powerful and exotic, they were adopted by a people to whom they were completely alien. To find out the truth about Chavin's origins, I know where I've got to go next. Chavin de Huantar itself. I'm trying to discover what made the mysterious Chavin Empire tick. I traced the origins of images on a sacred relic to the Amazon. And now I'm in the northern Andes Mountains, approaching the town of Chavin de Huantar. It's seldom visited because of its isolation. Over 100 miles up steep winding roads from the coast to the west. And to the east, it's hemmed in by some of the highest mountains in the Andes, many over 20,000 feet high. Here in Chavin de Huantar, the influence of the people's Incan ancestors is still apparent. They speak the old language, Quechua, and practice traditional agriculture. But it's still very different from the jungle world I've just visited in search of the images on the Teo obelisk. From the town, it's a short walk to the site. The 2,500-year-old ruins are beautiful. Centered around a sprawling temple made of massive stone blocks. It rises 53 feet high and looks down on 15 acres of sweeping plazas. To explore Chavin, I've arranged to meet Dr. Rosa Rick, co-director of the Stanford University project here. All over the site, we see the images from the jungle. Jaguars and snakes. What are they doing up here in the highlands? But the connection between the Amazon and Chavin is just one of many mysteries that surround this ancient civilization. Chavin is complex and impressive, but I notice a strange absence.
Rosa, I'm amazed at the beauty and the power, I mean the wealth that was put into Chavin. Everything here, and yet what I don't see are fortifications. Did they have any here?
No.
Did they have a military?
No.
So how is it that they're able to protect all of these assets if they didn't have a military?
That's a very good question.
After years of excavation and research, the story is beginning to emerge, and it has to do with the special nature of Chavin itself.
Chavin was a major ceremonial center. This is where population from all around the Andean area will converge.
And how far would people travel to come here?
Hundreds of kilometers to get here.
So this was a major pilgrimage site the way Jerusalem or Mecca may be.
That's right. It's a religious center.
But what brought pilgrims to this inaccessible valley high in the mountains? Archaeologists speculate it was hypnotic mass rituals on the main plaza, with hundreds, maybe thousands of worshippers. The staging of the rituals was like a multimedia event. The priests had thought of every way to impress and amaze their followers. Traded from hundreds of miles away, special conch shells were blown like trumpets, and their music reverberated off the walls of the temple. 5 years ago, the Stanford team found 20 of these instruments, beautifully decorated with carvings. But the power of the ceremonies came from more than just music and dance. Rosa takes me to the circular plaza at the top of the complex to explain a brilliant special effect created by the priests. According to Rosa, they harnessed a nearby river and diverted its water into canals throughout Chavin.
This canal comes from up underneath the steps. It keeps flowing and it opens up to a series of canals that will go all to the ceremonial center. It's like a big speaker, loud sounds coming through this.
Wow, so sounds everywhere.
Roaring sounds.
It was a remarkable feat of engineering. Over 2 miles of underground canals traversing the entire temple complex, all to heighten the effect of the ceremonies. The sound must have been overwhelming.
That's incredible. So this whole space, I mean, with the temple behind us and the water rushing through underground and then coming back here, it's just this whole area was, again, a ceremonial center. This reinforces that something significant is going on here.
That's it.
This was why Chavin had no military. It was on sacred ground. It ruled by the power of its rituals. Its protected cult status shielded it from attack. Archaeologists have found offerings that were brought by devotees from as far away as the coast. The accumulated wealth supported a huge settlement for its time and place. Over 3,000 people. A thriving community of artisans served the needs of the priests. Chavin pottery, goldwork, and textiles have been found hundreds of miles away to the south and to the north. The Chavin style of intricate design and strong animal imagery dominated the entire region. It was a cultural empire in Peru for 800 years, ruling through the persuasive force of its ideas. And Rosa tells me the priests used a unique method to help maintain their dominance.
You have a priest representation here. You can see the headdress with the snake designs. Look at the mouth with the fangs, and the hands with the claws. And we observe that he's holding a San Pedro cactus.
Rosa explains that when correctly prepared, San Pedro cactus is a potent hallucinogen. Clutched in the priest's hand, it's a symbol of tremendous importance to his religion. It's the key to his power and his control of thousands of devoted pilgrims. I've been exploring Peru trying to unlock the secrets of the mysterious civilization of Chavin. Manipulating powerful symbols from the jungle, priests controlled a religious state based on elaborate rituals involving music, dance, and psychoactive plants.
Christian, what's your specialty?
Christian Messia, co-director of the Stanford project at Chavin, tells me more about the priests' use of hallucinogenic drugs 2,500 years ago. And the archaeological evidence is startling.
Wow. Oh my God, look at all this stuff.
Sitting in a shed, protected from the weather, are many of the stone heads which once lined the temple complex.
Yeah, there's one in particular I wanted to show you.
Yeah?
Yeah, which is this one.
This one here, huh?
Exactly.
So what's so special about this one?
I mean, you see that?
Oh yeah, this.
Mm-hmm. That's mucus.
Mucus?
Exactly.
Okay, wow. That's a bit weird. Why do they represent this person with mucus?
Well, when you consume psychoactive substances through the nostrils, you get like the mucus flowing.
And they actually captured the mucus coming out of his nose in stone.
Exactly.
So what role did these hallucinogens play in the society?
Well, what we believe here in the project is that it was a really important part. It's so important that it was depicted on the facade of the main temple, at the most sacred place in Chavin de Huantar.
I've never seen anything quite like this collection of stone heads.
So was this...
I asked Christian to show me where they were 2,500 years ago.
Evidence, which is the tenon head, is the only tenon
Now,
head.
only one is left in its original position.
It was part of the whole wall. It was inserted in those holes that we see along the wall. And this tenon head, particular tenon head, is representing some form of transition between a human being and a jaguar.
So this is, half feline. I can see it. It's got the teeth in the mouth and the feline. But I guess the head, the eyes are human, yeah?
Exactly.
Okay, but what is it?
Well, we assume that the divinity was living in another world. So in order to get to that world, you have to consume some sort of substances that will lead you, that put you in a state of mind, that will lead you to that world in order to enter to that world.
Actually, this represents the transformation from human to feline.
Exactly.
And that was done through taking a substance, some sort of hallucinogen. Wow.
A society that surrounds its most holy center with sculptures of hallucinating jaguar people with mucus coming out of their noses is truly bizarre.
Regarding that subject,
And Christian has more to show me.
we have found just like 2 days ago these snuff tubes. You have to be very careful, extra careful. They're very delicate.
Okay.
That we found in a canal.
Snuff tube.
Yeah,
Wow. This is a bone, yeah?
probably it's a bear bone.
Dozens of these bone snuff tubes have been found in Chavin. Sometimes intricately carved, they were used to inhale powdered hallucinogens. Tiny mortars and pestles were used to grind up the psychoactive ingredients. Some were from the Amazon jungle, like the seeds of the yopo and the resin of the virola tree. What Rosa and Christian have shown me changes my perception of Chavin and its rituals completely. And the story becomes stranger and stranger. This is the saga of a cult built around hallucinogenic plants, the cult of Chavin. The ceremonies on the outside were just the beginning. From the circular plaza, Rosa takes me up enormous steps which created the thundering noise of water flowing through canals. Up until 2,200 years ago, priests used the same stairway to lead a chosen few initiates into an actual temple of doom. And, of course, in every proper temple of doom, there has to be a terrifying idol hidden inside.
Yes.
The temple above ground is just an entranceway into this massive labyrinth. Huge stones were used to build over 2 miles of tunnels.
Would there have been candles in this passageway?
We don't have evidence of candles used at that time. There is no signs of the smoke on the walls.
It's kind of eerie.
I'm surprised by what Rosa just told me. I've been in tunnels like this in Mexico and in Egypt. But there was almost always evidence of the use of fire to light the way. How did they see where they were going without torches? They would have been in complete darkness.
So is there any sense of what was going on in rooms like this or down here in the corridors?
This may have been to bring some of these initiated people and to break them down.
So more of like the cult of Chavin. The initiates were down here in the darkness, being reprogrammed by the priest?
That's right.
For Rosa, it's a classic psychological technique. Disorient people in order to brainwash them and to prepare them for what they were about to see.
Wow. And there it is.
It is the supreme deity of Chavin, a god in stone, illuminated by a single beam of light from a tiny ventilation shaft. Archaeologists call it El Lanzón, the lance, because of its shape. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. An intricately carved, massive face with its lips curled in a perpetual snarl.
So these initiates would come down this dark corridor. They're in altered states of mind due to some drugs. And they come in here, and they're standing face to face with this really psychotic-looking god. And so this is a very powerful figure.
What an experience. Overwhelming.
It must have been a psychedelic blur of fear and awe. In the dark, the sound of water rushing past through acoustic canals would have added an element of heart-pumping dread.
This sort of stormy sound.
On top of everything that they're going through, they're hearing this thundering noise in front of this guy.
That is one other reason for them to be fearsome of this figure. The god is talking to them.
I can only imagine what they must have been experiencing.
It all seems so bizarre. Pervasive use of hallucinogens, ritual ceremonies in dark underground tunnels, brainwashing. How would such techniques enable Chavin to become a cultural empire? Rosa tells me I may be able to see that for myself, since some of the methods of the Chavin priests are still in use today on the Pacific coast. Images carved into a sacred relic took me first to the Amazon jungle, then into the depths of a 2,500-year-old temple of doom. I've learned that Chavin's existence depended on religious ceremonies fueled by a variety of mind-altering botanicals. But how?
My best lead at this point is a hallucinogenic plant called the San Pedro cactus.
I travel 140 miles from Chavin to the old colonial city of Trujillo, near the Pacific Ocean. Trujillo is a bustling and prosperous city, seemingly very modern in everything but architecture. But could it be possible that religious traditions, which began in Chavin 2,500 years ago, still flourish here today? In the city square, I meet Doug Sharon from the University of California, Berkeley.
Ready? We can go meet a curandera in the market.
Doug is taking me to meet Julia Calderon. She's a curandera, a modern shaman. Some people know them as folk healers. Julia's father was a famous curandero, and she carries on the family tradition. She leads us into the main market of Trujillo, where people buy vegetables, clothes, electronic gear, and practically anything else. We come to a stand that specializes in goods for curanderos, like San Pedro cactus. But buying San Pedro is not simple. It's like a fine wine. It must be mature and come from a good region.
So is this a good one? Or
This is a good one, yeah. One with the scar tissue is one of the best ones because it's mature.
Because it's firm.
We end up with 4 cactus buds, but that's just the beginning. We also need perfume, lots of it, and special, strong tobacco.
From the jungle. Yeah, it's good, strong stuff to take that. Muy bien, vamos, yeah. Adelante, comadre.
By late afternoon, we're walking through a quiet neighborhood. The sea is just a few blocks away. Everything seems very normal. Preparations for the evening ahead begin immediately with the ingredients we just purchased. The San Pedro is cooking away.
And it's the juice that you take, that you drink during the session.
Julia sets up her mesa, a table which contains everything she'll need for the ceremony. Images of Jesus are next to ancient healers. There's tobacco mixed with water, perfume, corn flour, and healing staffs, each with a special power to cure a particular ailment. And a magic circle with a 6-pointed star inside it, where the patient stands while being healed. This man believes he's been cursed. It upsets his balance, and he has difficulty staying upright and focused. the ceremony always takes place at night. Julia purifies the four corners of the ritual space with lime juice and perfume. After cleansing the patient, she invokes the staffs, searching for the proper one. Then, it's time to drink the San Pedro. It's part of a group experience dedicated to healing. First, Julia. Then, her assistant. The patients, Doug, and finally, me. It tastes like a bitter, earthy tea. Why the glass 3 times around the head? I have no idea. But when in Peru, the San Pedro is meant to open the patient up to what's hidden inside, and to allow Julia to understand what's causing his problems. With the San Pedro taking effect, Julia goes into a trance, and she sees a plot to bewitch her patient.
Es a una mujer.
She sees a woman. She sees a woman who combs her hair to the left. He's very close to his leader, I think she said.
Es una.
There's also a man.
Acá arriba, así como una molla.
So most of the people who are coming here are coming not for necessarily physical ailments.
No,
but more
not
spiritual.
at all.
Not at all.
Psychological.
So this is a much more spiritual cleansing.
Exactly.
Julia's skill is treating ailments typically unacknowledged by Western medicine. Curses, charms, and negative energies. Julia has given the patient the proper staff to help restore his power and his balance in the world. She then prescribes a treatment.
Be very careful. Don't accept food from anybody. It's all for vengeance. They did this to them. That's a very common type of curse here in the north.
As part of the ceremony, all the participants, except Doug and me, pour liquid tobacco into their noses. It reminds me of the startling jaguar heads I saw in Chavin, the ones with mucus running out of their noses.
In Chavin, they were taking substances that caused the mucous membranes to erupt, basically. Well, we're taking tobacco through the nose. We don't know if they're doing that in Chavin, but we know that tobacco is not Christian. It's definitely Native American. And the major origin of tobacco in the New World is the eastern side of the Andes, right in this general area.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Doug is sure these rituals have something important to tell us about Chavin.
You look at these ceremonies here, and in spite of the persecution of the Inquisition and 500 years of colonial rule, these curanderos and curanderas had a great deal of prestige at grassroots level. People come from all over the place to come to these healers. I think that's evidence of the fact that there's a continuity around the San Pedro that goes right back to Chavin, and I think the reason Chavin was so successful as a cult center was because it was built on a grassroots tradition, just like this is today. Building on that very powerful grassroots tradition, they were able to then build a political superstructure on top of that. And that's a big part of what Chavin is all about.
And a large part of that has to do with the San Pedro cactus. Huh?
Right.
This evening, the persuasive power of these rituals has been made very clear to me. The same shamanic tradition that Julia uses for healing was exploited by the priests of Chavin to gain absolute political and social power. Participating in a religious ceremony under the guidance of a prominent anthropologist, I had a unique opportunity to experience something of what the initiates in Chavin experienced. About 3 hours or 4 hours after I drank that glass of San Pedro, the effect reached its peak. I started to get very sensitive to light. I started seeing a halo on all the lights around me. And I was here back in my room, and I thought, well, what would it have been like for these people at Chavin to be feeling this way in the darkness? It's kind of weird, but here's what I did, is I went into the bathroom here in my room, and I turned out the lights. Because I was thinking at Chavin, so much of that world is based on darkness. And I put a towel under the door to block as much light as possible. And then, thinking about El Lanzón and the thundering, resonating water chambers around it, I turned on the shower. And so now I had this water hitting the tub, making this noise, complete darkness. I could see, because my pupils were so dilated, I could see everything. I mean, everything in this room, despite there being almost no light. And it made me realize that relative to Chavin, their world of darkness was not one where they couldn't see. Under the effects of San Pedro, that whole underground world became visible. You could see everything. Now, I finally understand how the priests of Chavin could have an elaborate world of ritual in the dark. In 500 BC, the power of these mysterious, hallucinatory ceremonies was strong enough to control a spiritual empire without the use of a military. I've been decoding the symbols on a sacred relic to understand how the ancient Andean civilization of Chavin flourished for 800 years, without a military, without city walls. In Chavin, I learned how the ruling priests conducted elaborate rituals, fueled by hallucinogenic drugs to control an entire culture. I participated in a modern-day version of one of these ancient ceremonies and came away with a deeper understanding of the priest's power. But was Chavin's systematic use of mind control unique? To answer this question, I'm traveling 230 miles south to the little-known site of Corral in the Supe Valley. I meet up again with Guillermo Koch, who explains that Corral was discovered in 1905 when an archaeologist noticed huge mounds in the desert. Like Chavin, Corral has a circular plaza, but much, much larger. Corral is also a great deal older than Chavin.
What's really exciting to think about is that at the time of the Great Pyramids of Egypt, this city was thriving. And what has archaeologists really excited is that it carbon dates to 2600 BC, 1600 years before Chavin.
Corral is like Chavin in many ways. Like Chavin, this vast complex was an important ceremonial center. Corral appears to have no fortifications. Archaeologists have also discovered snuff tubes, clear signs of ritual use of hallucinogens, like that at Chavin. These similarities suggest that a culture like Corral might have spread to Chavin. But there's one big difference. Unlike Chavin, which is high in the mountains, the sea is only 1 day's walk from Corral. That gave Corral an economic resource that Chavin lacked: fish.
During the time of Corral, the Pacific Ocean here was teeming with fish. The Humboldt Current coming up from the bottom made these waters frigid and rich. This coastline has some of the greatest fishing in the world.
The bountiful ocean, combined with improved fishing techniques like these reed boats, triggered a population boom. It led to the development of complex societies like Corral. These boats may be the technological innovation that fueled the rise of Peruvian civilization.
It's going to be my paddle.
It's amazing that fishermen today still use the same techniques. I'm going to try it out myself.
Tell ya, Pacific Ocean, wintertime, cold water.
The boats are kind of like big kayaks, very maneuverable. Today, we're going out just to play around a bit, but the working fisherman would place his catch in the back of the boat and spend all day out on the water. These little boats are perfectly adapted for riding the swells, and they allowed fishermen thousands of years ago to harvest the ocean. The real fun is getting back in. Instead of just going over a wave, you have to ride it.
We had a great time. Gracias. Gracias. Buena suerte. Gracias. Whew, okay.
All along the coast, there are fishing communities. And all along the coast, archaeologists are finding the ruins of civilizations like Caral that exploited the sea. From these roots, the origin of Chavin and all Andean civilization is becoming more clear. 80 miles up the coast from Caral, Guillermo shows me an even older site, Las Aldas. Here too, I can see similarities with Chavin.
Okay, and this is the circular plaza which I've seen in other sites.
Exactly, and this is a very complex one.
And it looks fairly unexcavated.
Yeah, it has been barely excavated some 40 years ago.
So they've made some sample cuts and that's it?
Exactly.
Okay.
Is there evidence of a connection between Chavin and Las Aldas? Was there use of hallucinogens? Did crowds gather at the circular plaza here for mass rituals? The simple answer is, we don't know yet.
This is from fires over here?
It's from cooking.
Is the cooking area?
Thousands of years of cooking.
Thing's just waiting to be explored as an archaeologist. Doesn't that make you crazy?
It makes my mouth watering. No?
There's still so much to uncover here. Who knows what secrets lie buried under the sand? Finally, we get to the top of the temple complex. On one side, a sheer cliff drops hundreds of feet to the ocean. And on the other, the massive building extends into the desert for almost half a mile. To create a structure like this required a sophisticated civilization. Guillermo tells me that the picture which is beginning to emerge ties these ruins closely to Chavin.
And this corroborates the new hypothesis, the new ideas about the origin of Chavin. Remember that Tello thought that Chavin was the birthplace of Andean civilization, and that the origin was in the jungle. Civilization came from the jungle into the highlands. Today, the hypotheses are completely different. We think that Andean civilization grew from the sea.
So because they had the food source here on the coast, this allowed the civilization to grow to the point where it could do and build this, basically.
The great richness of the Peruvian Sea. And that civilization moved from the coast into the highlands.
From these Pacific settlements, fueled by a unique maritime economy, civilization spread inland, eventually reaching Chavin. But one question still remains. Did Chavin import its techniques of mind control from Las Aldas and Caral, or were they developed in the mountains? We don't know for sure. The answers may still lie within the pyramids of Caral, under the sands of Las Aldas, or maybe even hidden in the code of Chavin's mysterious obelisk.